Today, it's been a long day, but it's been a short day because we didn't start until 9. But they've been pretty concurrent as far as we go through the day because we haven't really gotten done on time because there's been a lot of questions, so they kind of merged in. But right now, we're kind of finishing up the last one. Going until about 3:15, and this one is specifically designed for people that input listings. Whether you do that as your own entity or you're an assistant within an office that needs to do that for a group of agents. Either way, what we're here to show you today is the workflow and how that's going to be done in Matrix. We're not going to obviously put an entire listing in. That would be ludicrous. We're not going to sit here and put in every little thing, but we're going to show you what the flow looks like, how you're going to do it, how you're going to get into it, how you're going to change prices, how you're going to change statuses, how you're going to upload photos, how you're going to upload documents. That really is not as confusing and as long as it's going to be because, you know, if we're not going and putting in every bit of data, it's just showing you how to do it. We also have a video on our site that will walk you through everything I'm going to tell you today in 6 minutes and 56 seconds. So you're not thinking, well, gee, why am I here? Right? I'm going to go watch the 7-minute video and I'm done. That's to go back and refresh yourself after the fact. So here's our Matrix site. And your Matrix site is, as most of you have seen already before, you are not going to have access to the input tab until we actually, go fully over to Matrix and Flex goes away. When Flex goes away, which is the latest, greatest, is the end of this month now. We're talking the 26th of January. You can pencil that in. It's not going to happen before that, but don't be surprised if it happens on that day. Everybody's pretty firm now about that date. That's what we're hearing. So until that time, you do nothing different than what you're used to today. But when that date comes that they say, okay, Flex is gone, Matrix is now live, then you're going to have to input and change everything in the Matrix system. So there's no practice until then, but there is a video, again, which you can go back and review if you need to prior to that time period. So why do I have an input tab? Well, I've got a lot of stuff that you guys don't have. So I have an input tab that I can show you today how it's going to look. So let's use a quick little scenario here that it is January 26th. Let's just use that date as today. And Flex has been retired and Matrix now is live. So on that day, sometime around probably 9 or 10 in the morning, they'll let you know that everything is ready to go and you can start adding and editing listings. Now, I'll tell you a little story. I was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, second week in December doing their conversion. We opened up Ad Edit for them at 8:35 on a Tuesday morning. And we didn't tell them it was going to be until 9 o'clock. So we had a class that we did at 9 o'clock that morning, and I was doing an Ad Edit class. And by the time I got to that class, there had been 7 listings put in already, 5 price changes. People were actually hitting it right away, and they hadn't been in the class yet. So it's not that hard. I'm sure that will probably happen here too. So we see our input tab. It's January 26th. I have a listing in front of me that I need to put in because I couldn't do it the night before, because usually the night before we kind of shut things down and you can't do anything for about 12 hours. So think about on the 25th, from about 6 o'clock onward, it's a vacation until the next morning at 9, okay? So now 9 o'clock rolls around, you gotta put that listing in, you log into Matrix, and you magically will see that tab, okay? So there's your tab.
But everything that's currently in there will be turned over, right?
All your listings that will be, whether in there, will be in here. It's just that you're going to then go and make the changes to them in here and add new ones moving forward from here. Yeah, no worries about that. So here's what we're going to do. We've got our listing ready to put in. Let's just say it was a residential listing that we took yesterday. We're going to go to our input tab, and some of the stuff is not going to apply to you, so just ignore some of this. But you'll see there'll be a little box up here that says input. And there's 2 options for you. One is going to say add new, and one is going to say edit existing. So remember what I was telling you before. You got a listing that you're going to put in, so you've got a 50-50 chance of getting it right at this point, right? So let me see. New listing, add new. That sounds like where I want to go. Bing. Now you've got a 1 in 6 chance of getting it right because you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different property type forms that you're going to enter it in. Remember what I said, I'm putting in a single family listing. So I'm going to choose this option. Now I'm to the point where I just have to figure out how I want to start that listing. And there's 3 ways to do that. Currently today in Richmond, which is the site that I'm on now, they use a program called IMAP Tax. And for some of you that were here before, we went through a class on realist tax. Well, currently Richmond can go to a particular county, search for the tax record by name of the owner or by the address, and they can go out and autofill some of that tax information into the listing form, okay? Doesn't fill in everything, it just fills in pertinent information like address, zip code, tax ID number, whatever fields that the powers to be designed get populated into there, come into there. Remember, IMAP is going away. So this will be replaced with Realist, which you just saw earlier. So in Matrix, you will be able to go to the county of the property that you're going to put it in, search for the person in that county, just like I'm doing here. Again, but this is the IMAP program. It's probably going to kick me out, I'm guessing. And I will be able to find that record from the tax records and click fill, and that will again autofill some of that information. So that's going to be a time saver for you when you're starting this whole process. That's the way that I would recommend doing it. But if that doesn't work for whatever reason, we also have a button that says copy from existing listing, copying or cloning. So there's rules behind this. A lot of times they have to be your listing that you're copying or cloning. I'm not sure what your rules are, but let's say that I had a listing that was mine, it expired, I'm relisting it again, or whatever the case may be. You could type in that previous number and click fill, and once again, it would bring a lot of that work you've already done into a brand new listing form, which then when saved would obviously assign a different MLS number to it. Sometimes where that comes into play is if, let's say you get a developer gives you a bunch of listings in a community and most of the homes are maybe kind of the same. You could do one, copy over the next one, change the property ID number, change this, change that, and again, save yourself a lot of time. Not a common option, but something that could be useful as long as the stars align and the powers to be say it is, okay? Most of you are just going to probably start with a new listing after you auto-populate it from tax, and here's what you're going to see. Matrix is going to be designed in a tabular-based format. So think about each one of those tabs as a different page of the listing form. Now, some of those are not going to contain a lot of information, but they're all segmented out into small little chunks of information. So it's not one big long form, it's little tabs that you go through. Now, in Matrix, you can save a listing as an incomplete listing. So if you're not ready to finish it or not able to finish it, you could obviously save it and come back to it later if you want to. You have to abide by all the rules that are out there as far as when I have a signed listing agreement, I have to have it into the system in a certain time frame. That doesn't supersede any of it. This just says, look, I'm going in, I started a listing, I got sidetracked, I need to stop, save it, come back, finish it. I started a listing, I don't have all the required information, I'm waiting for to get that, I save it, come back and finish it. That's the purpose of an incomplete listing. So here's a little trick that I always do. If you try to save this as an active listing right now, okay, here's what's going to happen. See all those little red marks? That's your 8th grade English paper, okay? And all those little marks on there. Oh, dude. So the reason I did this is because now I will know every place that I have to fill something in, okay? Here's what I mean. When I go to the first tab, look at all the places that are required in mustard yellow. Look at all the red exclamation points. That's telling me that there's something I have to do before I can make this active. So you can try to make it active and try to kind of say, okay, let me get smart and see if it'll work. Well, obviously it will not. Now, there are some areas where there is not required fields, like you don't have to put an open house in. So by default, it's no, but if you wanted to put it in, you would say yes and then fill in the fields that are there. So some things are required, some things are not, but just about every section has a required field in it. So now it's just a matter of data entry. You know, you come in here and you start filling stuff in. It's a detached home. It happens to be in, you know, pick the county. It's just a matter of going through and doing all the grunt work that you see right here. Put in your price. Let's say your price is $300,000. Boom. What's your list date? You know, use the calendar. Boom. Put in your dates. So as you continue to do that, you're going to see that you have all these blanks filled out. Now, anytime you want to do this, you can always go back to your status and try to submit it again. And if you try to submit it again, you'll notice the ones that you filled out no longer have the red exclamation points, right? So you can always come back and check your work if you need to. Now, here's something that's really interesting. When I go in here now and I type in a particular address, so I'm just going to kind of skip ahead here a little bit. I'm going to type in 94 12, let me see, which one do I want? I did this before. Barry, I think it was, Sir Barry. I thought that was a cool name, Sir Barry Court. Sir Barry Court and by the way, all your zip codes are right here, so you don't have to guess, just pick it from the list. So 23229, and I'm doing this for a reason, which I think you're gonna like. So 23229. So I've started out putting in the physical address. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to say, get the latitude and longitude from that address. And what it's going to do is it's going to go out and it's going to plot that property on this little map for me. Now, before I go any farther, any new fields are going to be designated with new right here. So you can see that because, we're bringing in Chesapeake Bay, Williamsburg, and Richmond together, and there had to be some fields that were updated or added to try to make everybody happy, especially, waterfront was a big thing in Chesapeake Bay where it wasn't a big thing in Richmond. So here's a little trick for you. Once you do this, and again, this will be more applicable to the agent that has done this from the birth of the listing because they've been to this house already. They know where it is. They can physically see where it is. For an admin, this may not work for you the best way, but remember, you can always come back and rechange it. So what I want to do is, I hear so much across the country about people complaining the house is not mapped in the right place, right? The plot of land is not in the right place. Mapping is horrible. Well, you know what? You have the ability to change that. So what I do is I let the system do it, but then I come over here and say, you know what, I'm going to do that manually, and it's going to show me on a map where that property is located. Now, that really doesn't tell me a lot, but if I do the aerial views, now it tells me even more because now I can actually go in and take that pin and make sure it's sitting on the appropriate house or on the plot of land that I'm listing, right? So if for some reason it's not on top of the house, you can say, place the pin on the house that it's supposed to be on. So there should be no reason why mapping is ever wrong if you were to take the time to do this, because you can do it. So you can go through and you can now put this on there. And let's say, it really mapped it, didn't map it at all, but it was somewhere in, Middlesex South. You could jump right to Middlesex South without having to kind of pan the map all around. It kind of puts you kind of in that area, and then you can zoom in from there if you need to. So once you do that, it will then plot that property on the map for you where it should be. But there's one other little trick here. In Matrix, we also have Google Street Views where available. So if they're available, you can actually check them in Matrix before you make the listing active. Now, why would you want to do that? You want to do that because Google doesn't always get it right. I mean, sometimes you'll look at a street view from Google and it'll be pointing at the wrong house, or maybe it's pointing somewhere where it doesn't be. So if there are Google Street Views available, this little option down here will be lit up. And when you click there, you're going to see the Google Street View that Google actually took when they went out and set their little Prius around with their camera on top of it, right? Now, this one is pretty good. And again, if I'm the listing agent, I'm going to know this is the house I was in, right? So what I can do here is I can say, you know what, Google got it pretty good. I'm not going to do anything. But what happens if Google's picture looks like this? Which it does sometimes, right? Well, which house am I listing? This one or this one? Or what happens if it looks like this? How is that going to be beneficial to my potential buyer if they're doing a Google Street View and they're seeing, God, I guess I'm buying a tree, So what you can do is you can take this and you can frame it so it actually shows the house that you're listing. And again, in this case, you can even come in and you can zoom in if you think it looks better like that. So you're altering the Google Street View. That's a pretty good concept. Now, once you change it and put it wherever you want to, or maybe, in this case, maybe you go, you know what, there's a lot of land or a big front yard, maybe you want to do something like that. Once you make that change and save it, That change is now saved in Matrix only. You don't change that in Google. So if I were to go out now and Google this address, it would not show me that zoomed in view. If I could do that, I would end up in Google jail. So it only changes it in Matrix. But those are two things that I can show you as tricks that might help to make your listing more accurate with mapping and with the view that people are going to see. Because remember, when you send out listings to clients and customers and prospects, if there's a Google Street View, they can see it. You know, just think when they go to Zillow and they look at the Google Street Views, you know, you can't correct it in Zillow. You can correct it in Matrix, but remember, it doesn't. So I could be looking at the same house in Zillow and it could be looking at the tree, but in Matrix, it looks at the house. That's the key. So little trick for you there. And if you're a person that, if you're an admin that, you know, you may not have a clue where that house is located, you may have no clue what the house looks like, there's no reason why you can't finish this up to the point of an incomplete and then eventually grab that agent or do something with them and say, hey, look, I'm getting ready to put this listing in. I just want to make sure this is where it's mapped. I want to make sure this is the Google Street View. There's no reason why you couldn't come in here and take a screenshot of this and say, look, is that where the house is? They say, yes. Okay. Is this actually the house that you're listing? Yes. Is that a good view? Yes. Okay, thanks, I'm done. It's a little bit of extra work, but in the long run, it probably will pay off for everybody. Again, I'm not sure what the volume of business, maybe that's not practical, but it's something to think about. So you go through here and you just kind of finish in everything here. Notice in the directions, we do have character count. So as you start typing, the character count will decrease. And yes, you can copy and paste into here. So if you're an admin and the agent said, okay, here's the directions, and maybe they typed it on a Word document or an email, you could just copy and paste that right into here if you needed to. Then you just go through and you just kind of finish the rest of the form. Here's one that is not required, but this room differentiation is part of NAR's new mandate. NAR has come out with something called RESO standards, which makes all fields more congruent across the country. And this is what they've done. They've added out these separate rooms. And this is not a bad thing, but it's a little extra work. So here's what happens. You come in here and say, okay, the room type is the master bedroom, right? You can put in the length and width if you want to, or you can just say, you know what, that's on level 1. And you can describe it if you want to. Then you go to the more and you say, okay, now I'm going to look for bedroom number 2, which maybe happens to be on the 2nd level. And then you just keep wash, rinse, and repeat. This house has a laundry utility room, and that one happens to be in the basement. So you just have to keep clicking more to add those in there. Again, it's not really a bad thing because it's, you can put in this, none of this is required, but 9 chances out of 10, you're probably going to want to go in, and especially with those masters on the main, which a lot of us older folks are getting into now, you want to describe it as being on that level and things like that. So you do that, then you hop over to the next tab and you fill in the information. Again, where's that basement? What's in there? Shower, tub, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Fill it out. Go to your features. Come in here and pick the features that are applicable. Notice some new stuff here. Gulf frontage, Gulf view frontage, heating, water, cooling, pool, yes and no. You can see all those red flags. If they're required, they're there. If they're not, they're not. Check what applies, or if there's more than one thing that's applicable, you can check it. Again, this should all be stuff you're just going and filling out right from the input forms anyway. General information, again, here's waterfront, body of water for the folks in Chesapeake Bay that have those creeks and bodies of waters. That's where that would come in. Taxes, now all of this tax stuff should be auto-populated from RealList. It will auto-populate these boxes. To the best of my knowledge, they will be not locked, they'll be editable. So, but at least it gives you a start, right? And then you go through here and you just keep filling it in. And again, I'm not going to go through this verbatim. Here's your remarks, 1,200 characters. Here's your agent-only remarks, 512 characters with character counts. Of course, you can copy and paste here as you move through. Fee information, again, if there's a condo fee, yes. Go through, and as an additional fee, no. Membership required, yes, no. This should not be anything uncommon. Owner information. Again, if I'm correct and they did this correctly when they put real list in, it should put in the owner name here at that point in time from the tax records. And you just have to fill everything else in. Agent office, this will be populated for you. If you're the one putting this in, it'll be populated with your name. If there's a co-agent, you will also be able to put that in. If you're an admin person, when you enter a listing, it'll ask you which person that you want to put the listing in from your office, and then it will appropriately populate their name in here. So, that's the way it goes. So when you go to that first screen that says add the listing, if you're an admin, it'll say which office do you want to pick from if there's more than one office, and as soon as you pick that office, it'll give you a list of agents within that office, and you just choose the one that you're entering it for. So that's how it works if you've got that. Compensation information, again, fill it in. There's your remarks and compensation remarks as needed. Showing instructions, again, wash, rinse, and repeat. There's central lock stuff. Open houses, if you want to schedule an open house now, you can. You can also do this after the fact. If it's an open house, you say yes, pick the date of the open house. Maybe we're going to just jump the gun and get this done right away. That's going to be from 2 to 3. It's a public or broker open house, and I'm serving some really good food catered in from the Olive Garden, so please show up. Virtual tours, if you have them, you have a link, you just copy and paste it into here. You can have 2 virtual tours if you for some reason feel the need to do that. Copy paste the links in there. And then internet display information, again, do you want this to be displayed on the internet and anything like that? Again, those are all, I think, VOW or some other kind of rules that you have to apply. So you go through and you fill all this information in. And then you try to submit it again, and if it's not done, you've got to go back and fix your mistakes, right? So now you're going, oh, I'm done with this, too much. So save it as an incomplete listing and submit it. When you do that, it's then going to give you, oops, what did I do here? Let me just put, I didn't put the times in there. See, it knows if you do something wrong. I'm just going to say no to this just to be funny here. So I'm going to say no, go back to my status, save it as an incomplete. And as soon as I save it as an incomplete, it's going to assign an MLS number to that property. That's interesting, right? So does that mean that's a coming soon listing? No. Does that mean that anybody can search for that listing? No. Does that mean I can see that listing or my broker can see that listing or my admin? Yeah, but that's about it. So that just is a reference number for you to use going forward. When that listing is made active, it will then use that number. But until you make the listing active, it's there. And if for some reason this listing never gets finished, that number just drops off the face of the earth, okay? But here's why we have it as a listing number. Because at this point in time, you can add the photos to that incomplete listing or add the attachments or supplements to it at that point in time. So think about where that's valuable. I'm missing 2 pieces of required information, but I've got all my photos ready to go and I've got my seller's disclosures, my lead paint addendums, everything ready to go. Why should I sit there and wait? Let me just go ahead and do some other work ahead of time, right? So I can either start that right from here, or I can assign the lockbox from here if I need to, or you know what? I can go move on and do something else. Okay, now I just moved on to do something else. So what does that leave me? Now I just have to go back to my input tab again. And once again, if you're an admin that works for multiple agents, you will be able to then search for that office they're in, the agent's name, and when you do that, it will show all of their incomplete listings that you can pick the one from. Yeah, go ahead.
When you go back in, are you still adding a new listing, or is this now
You're just working on that existing listing because it's incomplete. So since I'm not an admin person and I don't do it, I had to just write down this number here just to put it in, and I could also do that. I could click it in, click edit, and guess where I am? That same listing on Surbury Court as an incomplete listing. So now if I need to go back and finish that listing, I just go down to that form that I started with, and I could just hop right back into it again. Remember the trick though, before you hop back into it, try to save it as an active listing so you can see where all the problems are, okay? Just try to trick it, okay? It's weird, but that's the way that it works. Now, let's say that I'm not gonna go back and add that listing. Let's say that I'm now gonna go back in and I've got that listing almost done, but I wanna go and add my photos. So I just kind of drop down to the bottom of the page, And here it says other options, and one of those says manage photos. So remember, I'm still working on an incomplete listing, right? So now I'm going to go down to manage photos. Now, good or bad, the photo count has been capped at 50. Okay, I mean, 98 photos, really? I don't know. So they're capped at 50. So that's the decision the powers to be had to make. But the photos that you can upload now should be at minimum 1024 by 768. Minimum for best quality. They could be a lot bigger than that if you want to, but they shouldn't be any smaller than that. So when you look at it, and here's why. If you make them smaller, they're not going to fill the screen. They're going to look crappy. So get them at least 1024 by 768. So how do you add the photos? You have to find them, right? Where are they? That's the hardest part of the whole game, right? Where did I put those pictures? Oh, they're in my test pictures. Okay, here they are. Now, some of these photos that I'm uploading are huge. 1772 by 1130, 3000 by 1940. So there's our high-res photos, right? Now you can just pick the photos 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 49, and 50. And just in one full swoop, bring them all in at one time. So now you can just upload them in, and depending on the size of the photos and your internet connection, that's going to take how long? 5 photos, 10% of my limit took what, 8 seconds? That was pretty quick. So now I've got all my photos in there. Now, what I encourage you to do, and if you don't do this, shame on you, take the time to paint a picture and tell a story. The picture's been painted by the photo. Now go in, click on the corner, and tell the story by entering a description of that photo. Everybody should be doing that. If you're not doing that, the seller is not getting everything from you, because a picture is worth 1,000 words, but if you add 255 characters underneath it, you get a value of 1255, right? And you have spell checking. So especially when any house, no matter what it is, you should be adding those captions underneath. If you've got a kitchen and it's got granite countertops, oak cabinets, bamboo flooring, a sub-zoomer, a wine cooler, and French doors that lead off to the deck, don't let me guess at that. Tell me that. Why should you do that? Because people are going to look at photos. They're going to look at them. They're going to read about them. You put a catchy buzzword in there that catches their attention, you've hooked them. Don't make them look at the remarks field. You run out of room in the remarks field. Don't tell me about that kitchen and waste 25% of your remarks field when you could have done all that under the kitchen photo right there. And you could take multiple, you got 50 photos, take 3 angles and describe them, okay? I mean, you get an A if you do that. There's a spell check, enter your description, be done. If you're an admin person, have the agent do that. Put this description in a Word document, have them email it to you, copy and paste it into there. You don't have to type it in yourself if you don't want to.
When someone goes to, say, Zillow, Realtor.com, any of those, will that verbiage show up under those pictures?
Only in Matrix. Unfortunately, we don't transfer that over. Okay. So, but again, with Matrix and the client portal, which we have in here, when clients and customers can go to that, they will see the pictures and the comments in there. So, again, another way to keep them in your sandbox instead of somebody else's. Mm-hmm. I've seen $3 million properties with great pictures and nothing underneath them. I'm like, really, somebody put family room. Ooh, you did me no good. So that's one thing I encourage you to do. Again, I know it's extra work, but again, I'm just trying to help you market your property and get the best thing you can do. If I hire you as an agent, I expect all this to be done. I would be a bad agent. I would be, not good. I'd be a bad client. Yeah.
Where did you click on that to get the drop down?
The little corner, and that says show photo details, and that's how you can do that. Now, once you have the photos uploaded and the captions underneath, you can move them around just by dragging and dropping them in any order you want to. So it doesn't make any difference how you upload them, because after the fact, you can just play, the shell game and move them around any way you want to. Then you click save, and you've just submitted or committed those 5 photos to that incomplete listing. And now, let's say you put 5 on there and you want to come back and add the other 45, just go back and wash, rinse, and repeat, and you're right back to where you were before. If you made a mistake and you go, oh gee, that photo shouldn't be there, just check it or check them, and you can delete them just as fast. Okay, so if you have existing photos coming over on listings, you're not going to be able to go back and edit them. You're going to have to delete them and re-upload them because they came from a different database. So unfortunately, that's the way it goes.
What about switching order?
You can drag and drop them around.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, that's just where they sit. Supplements. Again, I'm still on an incomplete listing. I go to my supplements, and a supplement is a disclosure, lead paint addendum. You have to have them saved somewhere. Hardest thing is to find where they are, right? So you have to browse for them just like you do the pictures. You can upload it and you can attach the appropriate supplement type. If it doesn't fall in this group, tell me it's an other. If it's an other, please take the time to describe what an other is, okay? Their supplements, you can upload 10 megabytes worth of supplements. So that's a pretty big file. So you can add supplements either to an incomplete listing, or you can, again, do that after the fact. If you want to assign a lockbox, you can do it from right there also. And remember, we're still on an incomplete listing. So once all this is done, if I need to go back and finish the form, I can finish it at that point in time.
Can you assign more than one lockbox?
Good question. I don't know.
We do the Sentry lock here, and then we have the rain boxes.
I think it's central lock here is what you're going to work with. I don't believe so. That would be a question for either Linda or Sue downstairs. So sorry, I can't answer. That's a good question though. So we still have an incomplete listing, but that listing now has all the good stuff there, right? It's got the photos, got the attachments, and it's ready to go. Now you can go back and finish it whenever you want to at that point in time. So now we've got the listing finished. That's a good thing. Let's jump forward and say, okay, that listing has been finished. Now I need to go in and change the price of that listing or the status of that listing. How do I do that? Well, I come right back to my input form, which is right here. Just want to look at one thing. Oh, by the way, on your site too, you're going to have a little widget called My Listings, and you'll be able to get to your active listings. You'll be able to get to your incomplete listings right from here. So you'll be able to click right here. And if you're an admin, you'll be able to get to your office listings and your firm listings from here also. So an incomplete listing, the quickest way to get to it, one click, and there it is right there. Then I can choose that listing and I can upload the photos or edit the supplements or edit it from right there. So it also remembers it there. But here we have an active listing. So I'm going to actually be playing around with somebody's active listing here. So I'm going to be real careful. 1121560. So this would be a listing that is currently active. So I open it up. You can see it's a release listing. So, okay, active, released, whatever. So now at this point in time, if I needed to do something with that listing, I would just come down here, go to my form, and let's say I had to change the price. Change the price. And when you go down to the bottom, click submit, and you just change the price, right? That was easy. Anything else you need to change in here? Maybe you screwed up on the directions. Change the directions, click submit. Everything that you need to do with a listing other than a status change is done right from the form itself. Status changes are right down here. Change to active, change to lease, change to release, change to withdrawn. Whatever the property type is, it's going to give you the appropriate statuses that it could go to next. So if this was a residential listing and it wasn't rental, I would say obviously there would be different things here. So let's say I want to change this to active. Click here, fill in any of the required fields, and click submit. So just remember, everything other than status is done in the form itself. Statuses are done as independent entities because there are conditional fields you have to do. Just pull up the listing, look at this box, and see if you don't see anything here, like price change, think, okay, it's here. If you're looking for a status change, it's right here. Everything but status change is here. So maybe this property is getting an open house now. Maybe you put it in and you're going, okay, it's not going, let me put an open house in. Pull up the property, go to open houses, and fill in the appropriate information, click submit, and whatever date you scheduled that open house on is then going to be searchable by all the other agents under the search and open house feature right there. Okay, so you put it in, they search for it that way. So that's how it works for open houses. Again, not hard, just different, and different doesn't always need to be hard, right? So that's how you put listings in. That's how you change prices. That's how you change statuses. That's how you add pictures. That's how you add supplements. And that's all there is to add edit. It's not that hard. We offer you a cool little video. If you go to help and you go to the video tutorials, there's actually a input video tutorial right there. You can watch it on your iPhone if you want to. You can watch it on a YouTube channel that we have. It is 6 minutes and 35 seconds long. Everything that I just told you is done in 6 minutes and 35 seconds right here. I'm going to mute Dave for a minute. So you can see everything that I'm doing. Here's that list right there where you'll be able to pick the listings from. If you're an admin, you'll be able to pick the agent, pick the office, pick the listing from. You'll also be able to go here, see they're doing the auto population from tax. Now this one he actually did out of Honolulu, go figure. Nice, was a nice trip. And you can go through and you can fill in the forms. Everything that I just showed you is all right here. Just click on the tabs, fill in the information, go to the tabs, fill in the information. I think he actually does the mapping thing here to show you how to, verify that map is in the right place. He also, I believe, shows you how you can do the Google Street Views to how to change them around. Not a little bad old house in Honolulu, huh? And then he just goes through and it walks you through everything right here. There's your temporary number right there. And then here's how you can add the photos. There's how you can go and move them around. There's how you can go and add the captions like I just showed you right there. So everything I just told you is also available in this video. You go back and watch this. How do you add the supplements? Right there. How do you add stuff like that? Bingo. How do I go back and find my listings? Right here. Select a listing, pull it up. There you can manage your photos, change it. Everything that I've done right there is right in front of you as you speak there. So that little video that's available under the Help tab, which is over here under Video Tutorials, 6 minutes and 35 seconds. That's your refresher course if you don't remember anything I told you today. But hopefully you found that that wasn't that hard. It's just different. And again, different is not necessarily hard. It's just different, okay? That's all there is to it. It's as simple as that. It's just the same work you've done before, just in a different flow, in a different format, just a different workflow, okay? Any questions with any of that? Wasn't too hard, was it? Yeah.
Under the manage supplements.
Yes.
Do you upload all of the supplements at one time?
No, unfortunately, they're done one at a time. So you can only browse and attach. Well, no. You know what? Hold on a second. Let me. That's a great question. I think you can only do one at a time, but you know what? I'm going to go take a look. I'm going to manage supplements. I'm going to choose a file, and I'm going to just find a PDF document that I might be able to upload here. iPhone user guide and something here. So yeah, I can only pick one at a time.
Okay.
So
when you add that,
you click upload,
and then it will give you the option to do another one.
Correct. So when I upload this one, it's depending on the size of the file, it's going to upload it. It's still working right now. I called it an addendum as this example. So as soon as I do that, it's going to give me another open slot.
Okay.
It's too big of a file.
Okay.
But as soon as I did, yeah, you are correct, and that's a great point. I always like to be 100% sure before I actually do this. Let me see this one here. This one should be pretty good. There you go. So there's the first one right there, and I can see it, and then I can go back and wash, rinse, and repeat. And if I need to delete one, I check it, and I can delete it right from here. So yeah, you just have those different options to go through as do it. Yep.
Okay.
And then if you've got a couple of them here, let's say you got 3 or 4, you can move them up and down. So maybe you want this one to be the first document versus the second document. So in that case, if I were to pull up a search in here and I were to pull up a particular property, and let me find one that's actually got some supplements here. The supplements are these little things here, so you can see there's only one on this one. And if I go to the next one, I'm just trying to find one that's got more than one. Well, you could put the order in, so you want the one on top, they click first or whatever. That's how you move them up and down to do that. And again, the supplements are found using the little supplements there, and of course your pictures. There they are. You flip through them. Up to 50 of them, about as fast as you can flip. Okay. So smaller photos and portrait photos will look. You don't want to do that. Okay, that's not cool. 1024 by 768. That's what you want to have minimum, and then they'll fill this whole piece of document. The higher res photos are going to be better anyway. Just take them. The only thing that's going to stop you is if they're really big folders or big pictures. If you have a slow internet connection, you risk timing out trying to upload 50 photos. That's about the only thing that's going to kill you. But most of the times, most of us have broadband these days, and it's probably not even a factor anymore.
Is this what the page will look like once the listing is saved?
Exactly. This is an active listing right here. This This is a full active listing. There's the remarks, the agent remarks, the fee information. Everything you see here is what was on that form now carried over to the look and feel of the actual matrix system. And when I go and take this and I take one of these guys, and let me just pull this one out here, and I come down here and I click print, and I take that agent complete report and just give it a preview. This is exactly what it's going to look like when it's printed. So that's just boom, boom,
So
boom.
are there different formats?
Oh, a whole bunch of them. Look at all of them.
Okay.
Customer, agent.
Okay.
There's even now one with a 50 photo gallery that will actually have all 50 photos that you can print out too at the same time. So if you want the photos and the listing, here's what you do. You choose, let's say you're sending this to a client. Maybe you're going to send them the short report, okay, just a teaser, but you also want to include all the photos. You just select both of those, and then you'll see the listing on top and all the photos kind of supplementary attached to it there. Otherwise, it's a PDF file. They can't click on the photo. You have to include both of them, okay? So it's all good. There you go. Yes, sir.
That report, can you resize it? Because we sometimes take the printout and put it on the back of a flyer, what we want to.
No, it's a fixed formatting. The only thing you might be able to do on a customer short report, you may be able to print it to a PDF file, which, it's 2 to a page that way. So, but no, not really. They're kind of fixed. So you might find a way to skin that somehow, but I don't know of an easy way to do that. And again, there's other reports. There's even like a thumbnail report. Some people like that little report. You just go through and figure out the one that works best for you, and you can print these as you need to from there. So print them to a PDF file, and some of these you can actually email as a link to a PDF file. Some you can't. So it's just up to the schools. So there you go. Watch the video, and I think you're off to the races. It's not hard. I like teaching the class because it's easy. So hopefully it's easy.
Go right to end the day, right?
I'm just thinking of my question. We will take that printout, and sometimes it's a page and a third. When we print it, I guess it's the print function. We say print it at 80%. We're able to do
When I pick one of these and I go to print and send it to my printer, it now goes to my print dialog, so I can do whatever I want to do with it at that point. So if I go into more settings and I change it to a different page size or margins, I can, whatever you can manipulate here is up to you. That's between you and your printer at that point in time.
From the other one, the print thing that we use, you're able to choose the size, the percentage.
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
No, your print dialog box will change that. So.
I probably put it down the screen. Thank you.
Could I get some more of these for tomorrow? We're down to 2. Any chance you can make some more of these for me for tomorrow? Because I think they're very valuable, and I think I've probably got a good set of